Coach Calloway is in studio, and with us on the phone from over at Effingham County is Josh Reddick. And, Coach, I'm going to let you do the introduction.
Hello, Josh.
Coach, how are we doing?
We're doing good. It's good to have you halfway back in Lyons this morning. Even though we're not at Partin Park, we're at the radio station, and a lot of people are looking forward to hearing you tell us about your major league happenings. It's been
looking forward to talking. That's one thing I do best is talk.
You swing the bat pretty good too.
I can do that all right.
I'll let Barney lead.
I don't want to brag about that too much. I'll stick to the talking part.
We'll let Barney lead off with the baseball question. I have several questions I'll ask you about.
Well, I guess the big news with you, Josh, is signing with the Houston Astros, your 4-year deal. And I was wondering what enticed you to go to Houston?
Well, I mean, first off, they're a young, good team. They've got a lot of talent. They got a lot of guys that can grow into their prime, and they're still not, they're still young. So they bust their butts. I mean, that's a team that I've been watching for the better part of 5 years. Play their butts off, and they play the game the right way. They don't slack. They don't jog. They run everything out. And for a team that just missed the playoffs last year, and a couple of pieces like Brian McCann and Charlie Morton and Carlos Beltran coming back, and then myself, hopefully I can do something to get that team back in the playoffs. But they're just a really good team, and with what they did, they came aggressive at me and made it pretty easy to make that decision. So then they made it priority number one that they wanted me to be a part of the Houston Astros ball club. And when a team comes at you like that and throws the money out there like they do, and with the championship kind of team they have, it made that decision a no-brainer.
Well, let me ask you this. Did Orbit have anything to do with your decision? Because you have such a good relationship with Orbit.
Orbit has yet to contact me. I'm surprised. As soon as I signed it, I knew that it was going to be a funny 4 years. Yes, Orbit and I have had some great interactions. The guy who does that is just fantastic at what he does, and he comes up with all kinds of different mini games, and he's fun. He keeps the fans involved, and that's what you want in a mascot. And he involves the players, and you don't get a whole lot of that because I think a lot of mascots are a little nervous to come approach some big leaguers, but that guy's not shy one bit. He definitely makes the game fun before it even starts.
He's seen your underwear.
He's seen my big pair of underwear with a couple of handkerchiefs, I think.
That's a little joke. Orbit is the mascot of the Astros, and he likes to pick on you, doesn't he?
He does. We've had some good times, but I always get him back. He comes and picks on me, and then right before I leave the field, I always get the last say in it. So he may have won the battle, but I always win the war.
All right, you're a right fielder. You're a great right fielder. You can make Spider-Man catches. What do you think about that corner over there that you're going to play? It's like a 7-foot-high fence, and there's not much room from the foul line to the stands over there on the right field side. What do you think about that corner?
I mean, the thing about with Houston is I'm already cautious enough there because that's where I hurt my wrist almost 4 years ago now. Jeez. I hurt my wrist really bad and ended up having to have surgery on it, so I know that part is padded now, but you just got to be aware. As an outfielder in the big leagues, you got to be aware of where you are and make sure you know how many steps you got to the wall. And the good thing about a 7-foot fence is there are going to be some opportunities to rob some homers, and we all know that outfielders love robbing home runs. So the thing when I've been there as a visiting player, Houston's been a pretty simple right field to play, especially with a guy like Springer who's moving to the center. He's got so much ground that he can cover and so much range that it just makes my job easier. And that's just kind of similar to what I had with guys like Coco Crisp and a Sam Fold who'd be in center field who would just go get everything. And so I've been seeing Springer play enough to know that he's going to be that guy. And he's going to make my job a little bit easier. I'm going to make his a little bit easier, I hope.
Is that corner, is it kind of like Dodger Stadium? I think the fence is lower at Dodger Stadium, isn't it?
It is. I think the fence at Dodger Stadium is about 4 feet, but it doesn't. In Dodger Stadium, it has the wraparound. It has a little wraparound in the corner. With Houston, it doesn't have that. It's just your traditional standard outfield post to post. Well, used to be with the Hill. Now we don't have Tal's Hill anymore. They took that out finally.
Well, let me ask you this. Playing right field, you make a lot of throws to third base very accurately. I don't know why guys run on you, but they do. What is the key to doing that? Because you are able to make that throw where you get that little short hop to the third baseman. It's an easy catch for him. He puts on the tag, and he's gone.
It's practice, and that's really all it is. I mean, you got to work. You're not just given You're only given so much in this game by the good Lord upstairs. And you got to be able to hone your skills and make them that much better, because this is a game of adjustments. And if you're not out there practicing, you're not going to be able to improve, because it's not like high school where you can just roll out of bed and go out there. You got to go out there and get your work in every day during batting practice, before batting practice. Get your coach out there to hit you some baseballs, make about 5 or 6 throws, and that'll make your skills that much better. Because it's not like you got to go out there. And for me, my routine is simple. I go out there twice a week and maybe throw to bases twice. And then I'm out there every day getting reads off the bat on BP. I got to always get my routine to get some reads off the bat and make sure my routes are right and my line-ups are right. So I just little things that I don't really pay attention to that need to be done, that need to stay more upbeat with it.
Don't run on Reddick. All right, Coach.
That's what they say, and I hope they keep doing it.
Josh, I'm going to jump in now and ask you, you're talking about playing right field there at Houston.
Yep.
Let me ask you about the right field at Fenway Park with that pesky foul pole. And by the way, Coach Callaway has his name on that foul pole twice. I've been to Boston.
You twice, have you?
Yes. But that wraparound wall, it can ricochet off of there, and a lot of singles or doubles have turned into triples on that. Did you enjoy playing that right field corner at Fenway?
I did. I didn't mind it. I wasn't, completely upset about it, because it was I only had one little mishap in the corner, so I didn't really get too abused by it. But I love my time in Boston. Fenway, I mean, you got all the history there, and gosh, when I came up and looked into that team, it was just teams full of veterans that I grew up watching play on TV myself. So that was just an eye opener and a dream come true for me. But right field, I mean, it was pretty tough, because it was, one, it was a short wall. 2, it wasn't really padded. It was, it felt like solid wood. It was deep, and you had to take right field in Fenway like you were playing center field anywhere else.
Well, I know when you went back against the fence, you had 2 bullpens there waiting on you to do a flip like Hunter did, in the World Series. He flipped over.
Yes, sir. I've actually done that myself, too, off of David Ortiz. He didn't hit his as hard. He hit his higher, and I actually went over and got a glove on it, and then it went off my glove and out of the stadium. So I was kind of bummed, but it was my boy David Ortiz. I couldn't be too upset about it.
Well, that's the next question I was going to ask you. How was it like to be on the same team with Ortiz?
David Ortiz might be one of the greatest human beings in the game of baseball ever. That man is never going to not talk to anybody in the big leagues. I mean, that man taught me so much about how to prepare, how to hit, how to get my routine right. That man, for DH, does a lot more work than a lot of guys I've seen that play a position. And the friendliest, biggest teddy bear you ever met. For a guy like me, I always get, a little bit of what's the word I'm looking for? Shocked. And starstruck would be a better word. Or starstruck, because David Ortiz is the guy that grew up watching this Big Papi, and he was my teammate. And if I text him to see how he's doing, or text him Merry Christmas, or call him, the man always picks up. And every time he texts me, he tells me he loves me. So that guy's one of the best people I've ever met in my life.
Well, he's one that I feel like he could count any enemies he might have on one finger. He's a tremendous person.
If that. I mean, you got to think, every person in New York probably doesn't like him.
Well, let me ask you about Chris Sale. You're going to have to hit against him this year. How tough is he?
He's not your easiest lefty to hit off of. I mean, the angle he comes at, and it doesn't hurt that he throws 97 as well. And I've actually got a few hits. I think I've got like 4 or 5 hits off of him in my career. He struck me out many times. But I mean, it feels like he's throwing the ball from second base. He's dropping down. It's 97, and the slider falls off the table. It's for those that compare baseball, I'd rather face Aroldis Chapman than face Chris Sale.
That's saying a lot.
The top, and it's a straight 103 as opposed to 97. And then that nasty slider.
Can I ask you about 2 pitchers that used to be on the same staff? You hit one, you don't hit the other. They're both right-handers. You know who they are? You hit one really good. You hit one, I looked up the stats, you're hitting 455 against this guy, 5 for 11. The other guy, you're 2 for 16. And they're Verlander and Scherzer. How do you hit Scherzer? Because I watch him pitch all the time, and he can go out there and strike out 20 or throw a perfect game any outing.
And then Verlander shoves it, and makes me look dumb.
Is it because he's throwing 99 in the 7th inning, or what is it?
Early on, yeah. When I'm in my career, yes, I think that's what it was. But he has so many tools that he can use, and thing with Verlander is Verlander's always had a very generous strike zone ever since he won the Cy Young and MVP award. Not taking anything away from him, but he does, and he's just got good stuff. I mean, he can throw any pitch in any count. With Scherzer, you get at least a fastball or a curve or a changeup. But I don't know. I guess it's just everybody has guys that you can't do anything against, and everybody's got those guys that they dominate. I mean, I think I actually talked to Jed Lowry a little bit. We were talking about Chris Sale for some reason. I looked up his numbers. That guy's like 7 for 16 off of Chris Sale, and you got guys who probably won't even have one hit off of Chris Sale facing 30 times. That's just how it works. But fortunately for me, it's a guy who's an elite pitcher, not somebody who's just there to fill up time. At least it's a top name pitcher, not somebody that everybody hits, and you don't want to be the guy where everybody hits and then you don't hit.
But you're batting 1,000 against Kershaw.
1 for 1 with a walk and a sack bunt.
Yeah. Now, when you joined the Dodgers and you were, of course, out in right field and he's pitching, you were really hitting well when he was pitching. I think in only one game did you not have a hit. You had 2 3-hit games, 3 for 4s, and in one you hit a slam against Colorado. And I thought we just might listen to this.
Dodger here, a high drive to right field. Oh my gosh, that is going to go into the ballpark.
But you hitting a slam, and that's Vin Scully calling it in his last year. So that had to make that special too.
Well, it's actually pretty awesome because Vin Scully is a very well-known legend, and I will be the last Grand Slam he's ever called in his career. So I got that to hold up high in my.
I was going to ask you that because that was kind of late in the season. So that was the last Grand Slam that the great Vin Scully ever called.
Yes, sir.
That's amazing. Now, what was it like to go out there with him pitching? Because I mean, he can go out there and beat you 1-0, 2-0, and he's going to pitch a lot of innings.
Yeah, that guy is a gamer, that's for sure. He's one of the, there's a reason he's the best pitcher in baseball, and he makes all that money. That guy is just, that game he threw against Colorado was unbelievable, and then he comes in the playoffs, and not having the best reputation in the playoff games, he comes in and does decent in his first game, and then just comes back and dominates the second time, and then comes in relief on one day's rest to get 3 outs in the ninth. It's unbelievable. That's what you want to see. You don't see it a whole lot in Major League Baseball. That's usually what you get in your high schools and colleges, but it just goes to show you this guy wanted to prove that this playoff thing isn't a joke, and he is Clayton Kershaw, and he wants to be there. But the guy just brings so much intensity from the training room to the bullpen to the start to the dugout. It's just everything. He makes you want to be that much better because guys just get you fired up.
He's an athlete.
Well, Josh, let me change the subject from the major leagues to when you were at Middle Georgia. I have a friend, and you have a friend, Blake Zorn, which, by the way, said he'd be listening in this morning. Blake says he's
texting me now. He's having trouble connecting.
He said that he got you out. He could get you out better than major leaguers could get you out.
12-6 curveball.
I don't know where he's got...
Blake Zorn never got me out. He can talk whatever he wants to because I could see his pitches whenever he pitched. He always showed his curveball, so I always knew when to stay back on it.
Yeah,
I told him that after we were done facing each other, not during. So
Blake was real tough at Vidalia High School. He could bring the ball pretty well.
Blake was a really good pitcher. He should have gotten used more in my time at Middle Georgia. But I know about Blake Zorn before I met Zorn in college. I think Blake and I actually played against each other. We had to at some point up there in Lyons and Vidalia at some point.
Well, let me ask you another question. This is kind of getting away from the baseball field to the clubhouse. Do you have food in every clubhouse before the game or after the game?
Do we have food?
Okay. Next question.
Yep. I didn't hear the first one. All I heard was food. Was it just asking about if we have food in the clubhouse and stuff?
Yes, that was it.
Oh, yeah. When we get there, we have a little bit of food right when we get there, and then after batting practice, we'll have some food brought in or cooked, depending on if we have a chef or not. And then after the game, they usually cater in a nice meal. So we usually get about 3 meals a day at the field, 2.5 meals a day at the field, but there's always all kinds of snacks and drinks and healthy snacks and all kinds of other access to different kinds of food depending on where you're at. But yeah, you got access to a lot of food with that.
Well, Josh, what time do you go to the ballpark? If you got a 7 o'clock ball game, what time do you go to the ballpark to start your preliminary workouts before the first pitch?
I'm usually there at about 2. Sometimes it varies from 1 to 2, 1 to 2:30, depending on what the day consists of. If I have to go and get in the gym and work out, I'm usually there a little earlier. Or if we have early batting practice on the field around, usually we stretch around 4. So if we have BP, it'll be about 3. Early BP about 3. Come in, get your treatment done in the training room if you need to. Work out, watch some video, hang out.
Let me ask you another question, Josh. What kind of conversation goes on between the umpires and the players?
When we're not yelling at them, what I do is I go up to them at my first at bat and ask them how they're doing, and if I got time, ask them about their family if they got family, and just randomness. I mean, it's just like talking to another person. And what's funny, it's funny because what we do. We have reports on pitchers and outfielders and hitters. We also have reports on umpires, where they're from, where they went to school, how long they've been in the major leagues as an umpire, their hobbies, their interests, all this kind of stuff. So it gives you all kinds of conversation starters to read up on them. And, anytime you can get on their good side of the conversation, hopefully they'll give you a little bit better call than normal.
It sounds like you're a good student of Big Papi Ortiz because he talks to everybody.
I learned a lot in my Boston days between David and Pedroia and all those guys. They definitely taught me well.
Well, let's go to Partin Park for a bit. Mm-hmm. I think there's 8 people that played at Partin Park that went on to play in the major leagues, and then that tournament's been going on for 54 years. I think it's a real comment as to how strong the tournament is when you bring 100 teams in, and sometimes 18 to 25 in one division, and you've got to battle your way through all of that.
Uh-huh.
So you were playing in the mites, I believe, when you played at Partin Park. That's 9, 10, 11, the midget boys. And
I played at Partin Park a few years. I mean, I came up. My first tournament there, I want to say I was like 6 or 7. It was off the pitching machine, and we won that championship.
I remember that well. You played for
I played up through there all the way through. Man, so I was probably 13 or 14. I think I was coming there all the time.
Right. You played for Rincon, didn't you?
I played for Rincon All-Stars my first trip, yes, sir. And I came up there several times with the Rincon All-Stars, and the rest of my time was with the Effingham Bandits.
Yeah, I remember the Effingham Bandits. I've always said that the teams from Effingham played 13 months out of the year because they love baseball.
We did. We played from about, when I was 12 to 13 till I was now. Till now, I've been playing year-round outside of, the off-season. But yeah, it's what you love and what you want to do. You got to play. You got to get out there and do it. So it's a passion, and you got to love the game. If you don't love the game, you wouldn't be here.
Josh, did you play football or basketball?
I was a basketball player. My dad would not allow me to play football.
Probably a good choice. I don't want mamas to hear that.
My brother hurt his knee really bad playing football. My dad said, nope, that's enough of that.
Let me ask you this question. I was wondering, I think I know the answer. Did you ever play against the Toombs County Bulldogs? And I think the answer is no.
Toombs County? I don't think so. We may have. Is this in general or Partin Park?
No, it'd be a Jackie Jones. I think what happened was we played y'all.
I don't think so.
in 99 and 2000, and you would be too young to have played on those two teams. And the last time we played South Effingham was in 07 when they had Colby May and John Roberts, and they beat us 17-1 and 3. So I think I missed you.
Those two kids could play. I was a graduate of 05, so I would have been gone already.
What kind of player were you in high school?
I was actually a pesky slap hitter in the 2-hole who didn't hit any home runs. But I was always on base. I was always hitting line drives that were short. I was always that guy that just got the ball and played and got on base. I didn't hit my first home run until I was 17. I was just a little scrappy guy, like probably a little bit smaller than I am now, probably about 185, 190, and I would hit doubles and singles to left. And occasionally I'd hit a home run, but it was just I was a guy that just loved to get hit. I wasn't worried about home runs. I wasn't trying to hit home runs. I just wanted to get base hits and get on base.
We're talking to Josh Reddick. He's now at the Houston Astros, and, you went through the minors pretty easily. Most guys struggle somewhere, but you didn't really have any tough times in the minors. How did you do that?
Well, my minor league career was actually pretty funny. It was my first year I was in low A in Greenville and did well there out of the gate. And the next year, did really well as well. Played in a very hitter-friendly California league with Limbo's out. And then when I got to Double A, I hit my first speed bump. I kind of realized that the pitchers pitch a lot differently, and they're not worried about trying to strike you out with the first 3 pitches. They'll make you chase and make you wait. So I struggled for my first month and a half in Double A at the end of the wait. And then when I came back, I don't know what happened. I just made an adjustment and things started clicking and got the call and kind of struggled in the big leagues with the AAA. And AAA whooped my butt in 2010. I came out of spring with the big league club, almost made the team like an hour from the deadline. You had to turn their rosters in, and went to AAA just with all this confidence. And proceeded to hit 160 in the first half. I don't know what it was. And then told myself that after this All-Star break, I was blowing my chances to become a real big leaguer. I made the adjustment and ended up doing really well after that, and the rest is behind me because I only spent like 3 weeks in AAA the next year, and here I am ever since. But I don't know. Minor leagues was just, I'm not going to say it was easy because it's not. There's so many good players that come to the minor leagues that I played against that nobody would even heard of that are better than some of the guys in the big leagues and just don't have the right head on their shoulders for it. And it's just, minor league is one of your toughest spots because all the bus rides and, you're grinding out days where, you could get a bus ride after a game at 10 o'clock at night and drive 8 hours and have to play the next day. So it's definitely a grind to go to the minor leagues. If you don't love this game more than the average person, you're not going to make it because you're going to get frustrated with it.
One more question, I guess kind of similar, minors and majors. In only one season have you really struck out a lot, and that's you hit all the home runs. How have you been able to be a guy in the minors and the majors who doesn't strike out much in a game in which people strike out all the time?
Because going back to when I was about 14, I despise striking out. I don't like it one bit. And I think after that big year, I wanted to be more of a complete hitter as opposed to just a strikeout homer guy, where because I know I can hit in the 280 range and hit 20 to 25 as opposed to hitting 240 with 30. And, that'll just make my game that much better. I'm learning to walk more. It's not just about me driving in runs or hitting home runs. It's about me scoring runs as well and, making sure the next guy, passing on to the next guy if they're not going to give me what I want. It's not about me doing the job every time I go to the plate. It's about being consistent and not trying to do too much every time because I know I can be the good hitter. I know I can be in the hit 280, hit 20, 25, and still driving 80 plus as opposed to getting a lot of homers and striking out. I don't like walking back to the dugout with my head down.
Josh, let me kind of give you a real good comment. You're making $52 million for the next 4 years. That's $13 million a year. You're a professional athlete. You came up at Partin Park where we got a green monster wall there because I've always liked the Red Sox. And when you went to the Red Sox, got drafted by the Red Sox, that made my day. That's the reason I've gone to Boston 4 times to see about 11 or 12 games because I just like the Boston Red Sox, going back to Ted Williams. But here's what I want to tell you. You'll turn 30 years old on February the 13th. And you have to admit that now you're going to be a millionaire. But for you to come back to Effingham, where your roots were, where you grew up, playing as a mite pitcher machine through midget ball and then junior ball, high school ball at South Effingham, and you come back and you give clinics and home run contests to the boys there in Effingham. You and Clarence Morgan are real good friends. I commend you for giving back to your community when you don't really have to, but you do it because you love your roots when you grew up.
I really do. And, Effingham is, one, where all my family is, so it makes it easier on that part. I'm not married. I don't have kids, so there's nothing like where I have to get up and move with my wife and worry about that. But, the thing about Effingham is it's just so dear to my heart that I can't leave it. It's cheap. Compared to living in the cities where I play, it's one of the cheapest places to live, so it makes it a little bit easier there. But one of the bigger things is my charity here. I come home and I look forward to running my foundation and doing all kinds of that stuff. So it keeps me busy, it keeps me occupied, and anytime you can, give back to the community. Because the reality is, with all that money, there's no way I'm going to spend all that money in my lifetime. So I might as well share it and make a little bit lifestyle better for the future. Because they always say the kids are the future, and if you can teach them a little bit right, then hopefully they'll do a lot right by the time they get old enough to do it too. And hopefully, if somebody else does make it out of Effingham County to not even just baseball, just somebody like that can do any sport or something successful, hopefully I hope they'd come back and get back as well.
Josh, we have a green monster wall at Partin Park. I know you remember playing over there.
I do. Yep, that first field on the right. Yep, played there a couple times.
Correct. And we got a motto that I've had all my life: dream big, work hard, good things will happen. You are a prime example of that. And by the way, I have a granddaughter that's a Georgia Southern student. She's single. So,
you know what, Casey?
Talking about Casey. I just want to commend you. You're not only a great major leaguer, but you're a major contributor to your fellow man, your boys and girls, and the people that admire you is tremendous.
That's and that goes back to my parents. My parents raised me right, and my dad and my mom, they told me about, my dad's favorite quote for me is, don't let anybody tell you you're not good enough. And I preach that to this day, whether it's baseball, whether it's, school, whether it's anything like that. Because from somebody like myself, I got cut, for those listening, I got cut in middle school both years from the baseball team. And I said I wasn't good enough and went out and still played because I loved the game. And, in high school made the team, didn't really play a whole lot, and kind of played those my junior and senior year. And then when I got to Middle Georgia, it was funny, even Middle Georgia didn't want me. When I went up there, I was actually about to go to South Georgia, and then at last minute Middle came out of nowhere and got me, and then University of Georgia.
I also played at Middle Georgia, so I'm a alumnus with you. You're welcome to come to Partin Park in Lyons anytime you want to do one of your clinics. I'm retired now last year, but you're welcome back to Lyons in this area and Partin Park anytime, Josh. And this has been a pleasure talking to you this morning.
It has been.
I appreciate it.
And one thing, you're buddies with Blake Zorn, so is Coach Calloway. I used to ride bikes with him, and I Googled him the other day, and if he's listening, Blake, congratulations. I always thought you had great speed on the bike. And he's won a couple of races as a Category 3 or 4 rider up at Atlanta with, I guess it's called Peachtree Bikes.
Yeah, he's actually big into his bicycle ride. I pick on him a little bit, call it his old man job.
I used to ride with him when he was in high school.
Blake's a very good friend of mine. I was telling Coach Calloway about my first 2 days in college. He was my sophomore, stepdad. He came around and showed me around where all my classes were right before the night before classes started and showed me exactly where I needed to go. So I knew Zorn and I were going to be good buddies from the get-go. We're both down south country redneck accent having guys, and Zorn's just an all-around good guy.
Well, Josh, we got to go. Thank you so much, and thank you, Coach Calloway.
Thanks for having me.
All right, it's 9 o'clock, kid. We got to go.
This is TCV Broadcasting, WLYU FM, Lyons, Vidalia, Y101.